Hello, and welcome to a live Kerfefe break from the road on Deprogrammed with Keri Smith. I'm just checking to see if this camera and the microphone are working. This is the first time I've tried a van video, so let me know if it sounds okay. Oh, my husband's there in the chat. On the road again. Yes. So we are on the road again because my husband, Anthony Garcia Music, who's here in the chat, he just played the Red Lodge Songwriters Festival in Montana for the past week. And so, weekend, he played like Thursday to Saturday or Sunday. And it was great. Red Lodge is beautiful. It was my first time there. We were staying at this idyllic place. I posted one photo in the community page here at YouTube, but I'll post some more later because, I mean, seriously, some of these pictures, we stayed at this cabin that these like people volunteer their homes for the songwriters, and we lucked out. We stayed in this beautiful cabin that these people volunteered with a pastor behind it and mountains and a huge blue sky and a babbling brook behind the cabin. And the other songwriter who was staying there with us was awesome. We had a great cabin mate. And the day we were leaving, the family was like, oh, we're just going out. We saw a bear up on the mountain. We're going to go and find it. I was like, what? This is your life? You just go up. I saw a bear. Let's go hiking. Like, it was cool. One morning, I woke up in the cabin to let Tiger out, my little dog, to pee. And I opened the screen door, and there was a deer just standing there, just looking at me like 4 or 5 feet away. So I promise these pictures they look like I would say they look like Kmart background photos. They don't look real. They look like someone cut my body out and superimposed it on a fake, beautiful background I've never seen such a beautiful place. Montana is gorgeous. So long story short, we are starting late today, and the show is, I wasn't even sure if I was going to be able to do it. That's why I didn't mention it yesterday, because our van, this is our van, by the way. Anthony's going to do a video of he's going to do a proper video of everything we've done to it later, but I'll show you some of it in this video. But we renovated this van so that he could take it on the road and we could go on trips, and he could take it for music trips and not have to spend a lot of money on hotels. And this is the bed. I'm lying on the bed currently. All of his gear goes under it. It's really cool. But on the way to Montana, something happened with our overdrive or our transmission. We're not sure. And we can't go above like 40 miles an hour. If we're going down a big hill, we can get up to like 55 or 60, but that's not average. So on average, we're going about 30 miles an hour, and we've called every mechanic in Montana and Wyoming. Nobody can see us for like 2 weeks. So we're just going to drive it slowly home. So that means several people that watch Deprogrammed and several friends, we were planning on seeing you guys, and I've already reached out to some of you. It's not going to be possible because we can't go out of our way, because it's taking us twice as long to get anywhere because we're traveling so slowly to Texas. So also my podcasting schedule is a little messed up, and I wasn't sure where we would be at this time today. And lo and behold, we did arrive in a town that has reception and Wi-Fi. We are in Laramie, Wyoming, and pulled over so we could hang out and say hello. And yeah, anyway, we're not going to get to see as many people as we wanted to on the way home, but that's okay. We'll get this van fixed when we get home. Hello, Dion. Hey, Robert. I see you guys in the chat. What else? This is going to be a funny episode because it is the first time I'm trying a van video, and we're just a little scattered this morning. We stayed in a national park last night, got there at 1 in the morning. It was pretty late because, again, 30 and we this morning stopped in the middle of nowhere for coffee. No reception there, of course, and there were some older cowboys who were just being kind of rude, like not to sound like a feminist, but they just were being a little antagonistic when I walked by, and it was like, I don't mind an old guy being funny or silly or flirty or whatever. But when you do it all 6 times, I walk by you, like just maybe the first time you joke mean with me and I joke back and that's it. But don't keep doing it. It just kind of put a bad taste in my mouth before we got here. Like, just just you could be funny and mean like the way a middle school boy is when he's flirting with a girl, once, then be a normal human the other times that person walks by. You don't continue bothering them. It was annoying. Okay, so I don't know what's on your mind. I have a couple things I want to talk about. First, should I show you the van? It's pretty cool. Here, like I said, Anthony's going to do a proper van tour video on his music channel, I guess, at some point. So this isn't that, but I am going to show you a couple things. So I think I could just pick up the camera. Let's try this. Okay. Let's see what you're seeing. So this is the bed.
Are you doing the tour now?
No, I was just showing him a little bit. Not like a proper, I don't even think.
Here, I'll give it to me.
Give it to you? So my husband's got the camera. He's going to show some shape. You want to see what you're doing?
Yeah.
So underneath this bed, he's got a bench and he built this whole bed, and he also built it so he can take it apart. Because when we were insulating the attic, he took it apart and we filled this whole van with insulation at Home Depot. So underneath the bed, though, he can fit all of his music gear, including his keyboard and amps and, everything. And then we've got the bed's pretty comfortable. It's
pegboard.
We got the pegboard where we can hang stuff. I put some blue roses up there, try to cover up the insulation. I'm not finished with trying to beautify it. There's a lot of that silver insulation you can still see. But we were rushing to get ready for this trip. There's a oscillating fan that someone gave us, and Tiger's sombrero collection. My dog has 3 hats hanging up over there. And this is a cabinet. So Anthony found that top cabinet at IKEA, and we found that bottom cabinet at Hobby Lobby, and it was on clearance because it was all beat up, and we got it for more than half off. And then he just nailed it. Not nailed it. Sorry. He drilled it. He secured it to the floor and the back of the van. And then we put that IKEA cabinet on top. Yeah. So he's telling you he secured all those cabinets to themselves. And so the cabinet, we keep our cowboy boots in there and shoes. And then in the drawers, we have a junk drawer, we have a silverware drawer, and what's up top? Oh yeah, like a toiletries drawer. That's a junk drawer. And we keep our food up top. And then show them that cool refrigerator.
What's this?
Oh, there's a little tiger. Tiger's a road dog. He's well traveled now.
This is the swivel seat.
So Anthony, this is an old van, this Econoline, and he went online and found something that could convert these old seats into swivel seats, so we can turn that one around and have more room in here. Even though this is kind of a small van, it makes it feel more spacious. And then that refrigerator, so we were going to get a cooler, and then we found this, and it's awesome. It is an actual refrigerator and freezer. There's 2 sections in it, and you can set the temperature for both sections. Right now we have both set to refrigerator, and it plugs in to the cigarette lighter in the vehicle, or it plugs into the wall. And also it has a cell phone charger, a USB drive at the top. So I just call it, that's my cell phone charger, that big refrigerator.
We have all this inverter stuff back here.
Okay, he's showing you the inverter. So our friend from church, Darren, helped us out. So he's an engineer, right?
Yeah.
He is brilliant, and he helped Anthony figure out all the battery stuff. And I'm so glad he did, because Anthony and I were joking afterwards that if we had tried to do this by ourselves, we probably would have killed ourselves by accident with all this, the inverter and everything. I don't know. That guy's a genius.
And there's like a 200 amp hour battery back there, lithium.
I don't know if you can hear him. He said there's a 200 amp hour battery back there, lithium. So we're not, every time I share stuff about the van updates or the house updates and stuff, people will sometimes say in the comments like, oh, you guys are so handy. We're not handy like you. And I just want to say, we're not handy. We we are just learning things from YouTube. And so you can do that too. Here.
I don't know how to do that.
Okay, I got it. Thank you, babe. Thank you very much. Are you going to go get a coffee? Okay. This is the weirdest Kerfefe break ever. Thanks for hanging out. I am going to talk about some news topics, but that was pretty cool. Yeah, Dion, cell phone charger, refrigerator combo. I know it cracks me up. I like to call that fridge my cell phone charger. It makes me think of there was a comedian I used to represent who joked that her oven, that she thought her oven was a clock for years because it's a joke about how she never cooked, and it was a very large clock because it had a clock on the top. I just thought it's kind of a similar joke. Okay, so let's see. I missed some chats while that was happening. Hello, JS Pena for $1.99 says late and bros. Well, thank you so much for the super chat. That's okay, I'm late too. And Laura said, this intro gets me so amped up. I'm glad. So Anthony, like I said, just got done with the Songwriter Festival, and we were talking about what he's working on next. He's got an album of Spanish songs coming out soon, but he's also, I kept promising it, and now we're very close because his studio is further along at home, the studio that we've been renovating. So he is going to make a full version of the Deprogrammed theme song that we can put out, and I can't wait to hear what he does with it. I'm sure it's going to have some surprises in it. And then So Crates McGoat for $10 super chat. Thank you, sir. Thanks for supporting the show. Says just send some money for van repair fund. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're going to wait till we get home to repair it. Knock on wood, say a prayer that nothing else goes wrong. If we drive slowly, several mechanics we talked to said we can probably get back there fine. So I think we'll be okay. It's taking a long time. Okay. Let's see. Was there anything else? Oh, Blocked Magazine. So today is the day that the Blocked Magazine issue that I was talking about is out. I love those guys, and they're not paying me to do this. I just really like them. And so, and I like the hats that Kara made, and Tabitha from Murder Knits, and Lily are the three ladies who knitted the hats. And so if you haven't seen it, Block Magazine has an issue out today. I think it's called issue number 9. And it's basically a whole story about the pussy hat that became synonymous with leftism and feminism during, the past 5 or 6 years. And the story is about the original designer, the knitter who came up with that pattern. It was a child's hat pattern. And it wasn't like she made it for the pink pussy hat thing. People just took it, and then it got downloaded a bunch, and it was used for the pink pussy hat thing. And so in the magazine, he's got quotes from her talking about what it was like to see her cat hat design take off like that, with a political message that she may or may not have been fully in support of. But the issue, Neil James, who's the editor, they're talking about, let's take the pussy hat back. And so he tells the story of how he's calling it, he talked with her, he consulted with her, he made a few tweaks to her design. He made 3 different patterns, he's calling them oogly cat hats. And he made 3 different patterns, and they're named for his 3 oogly cats. And this is sort of an inside joke because a lot of the woke knitters like to say mean things about him. And one of the things they say is that his cats are ugly. And so these people aren't they the most childish? It's like when I get insults, a lot of my insults are like, your hats suck, your hats are ugly. And these are 40-year-olds or 50-year-olds. Like, that's okay. Are you still in middle school? But yeah. So they do that to Neil. They say his cats are ugly, and with his British accent, when he says it, it sounds like oogly cats. So anyway, he's reclaiming the pussy hat. They're called oogly cat hats, and you can get them in the new Black magazine. And here, let me just put this on the screen. Hello, Pirate. Pirate Tomsky's here, guys. He says, hi all, work is killing me at the moment, so I don't have a lot of free time. I'm sorry, dude. Well, thanks for being here for a minute. If you were on camera with me, you could say oogly hats in the same way that Neil does. Okay, here we go. So here's where you can find the Blacked magazine issue that's out today. And inside the magazine, he has the oogly cat hat pattern, 3 of them. And as I mentioned, Tara knitted one, Tabitha from Murder Knits did another, and Lily did one. And then he sent them to me and my husband, and we got to model them. It felt really cool. We're like, oh, we're doing modeling for a knitting magazine. So we tried to feature the hats in the photos so you can see how fun they look, and how if you want to reclaim the pussy hat, it is possible. It is possible to wear a cool cat hat and not be associated with that political movement. Anyway, this is where you can get it. What's cool about Blocked magazine is that it's free, and you can get the whole thing here online. If you just click on it right there, you'll see all the features I'm talking about, all the patterns, all the articles, and you can support them. They have a Patreon. You can also take out ads if you're a small business, and their prices are very reasonable. But the magazine's free. It's super cool for knitters and crocheters. Wrong knitters and wrong hookers. Okay, we'll stop sharing that. So I've been, in the limited amount of time I've been able to get online while on the road, I've been watching some of the news, and there's a couple things I saw that I wanted to share with you guys in case you didn't see them. Let's see. We've got the Black magazine thing on screen. I'll take that off. Oh, from the living room. We still have some new people coming in. That's cool. Hello and welcome. Says, I just watched your interview with Peter Boghossian. Very enlightening. Thank you. I really, I hope that interview, I've already heard from a lot of people that they've sent that interview to friends and family who are sort of woke adjacent. And I hope it helps. I think it will. Obviously it's not going to be able to reach every kind of person because, I talk about being a Christian now in that video, and there's a lot of negative comments about that. And I messaged Peter this morning actually about something, and I was like, the thing about that is I have to be honest about who I am and what I believe. Otherwise, I can't self-censor to try and reach more people, like not talk about the fact that I'm Christian or something. That would make me just as much of a self-censorer and a phony as I was when I was woke, So that's my story, and it won't reach everyone, of course. It's not for everyone. If you have very, I guess, Christian phobic friends, friends who are very maybe anti-Christian, that would not be the one to send them. But that's also why here on the Deprogrammed channel, on Thursdays, I release interviews. And if you go back through, there's a playlist called Deprogrammed Interviews. Go back through the archives there, and you'll find interviews I've done with all kinds of people who've left woke. And it's really about getting people's stories, because I think everybody's got, because of their unique talents or background or experience or their beliefs, they might have the ability to reach someone that I can't or the other person can't. So, for example, I've interviewed my friend Suhaila, who is Hindu and a trans woman and anti-woke. Okay, so she's going to reach a very different kind of person, perhaps. I've talked to my friend Cameron Pasha quite a bit, who is Muslim and anti-woke. I've interviewed James Lindsay, who's an atheist. I've talked to other atheists. I've talked to people who've left woke and are Christians, like Dr. Joel Brown. And, he in particular is interesting because he's a Black guy who's talking about BLM and that aspect of woke, whereas I talk more about, I guess, the feminist aspect in some ways. So anyway, if you're new here and you want to find a story that might reach woke people in your life or woke adjacent people in your life, go through my Deprogrammed playlist here of interviews and take a look at some of the titles and see if there's one that might work for the people in your life. There's also a great one with Birdie Rose, who's an artist, and she talks about leaving woke and choosing art and freedom of expression. That was a great one. So check that one out. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So here's the thing one of the things I saw, and I only saw part of this because, again, my reception has been spotty. So I'm going to finish watching it live with you guys. Everybody and their mama was tweeting the Ice Cube video. Have you guys seen the Ice Cube video? We're going to watch it together. Everybody was like, Ice Cube's got this figured out. Okay.
Yo, what's cracking? You know what it is. It's your homeboy Ice Cube. And some of you may not have realized that I'm not part of the club. And a lot of you listening to me right here, right now, you're not part of the club either. And what I realized with the club is what makes them so mad is when you don't want to be a part of their fucking club. That pisses them off.
Yes.
What club am I talking about? I'm talking about the club of gatekeepers that we all got to deal with. You know who they are, and they definitely know who they are. A lot of people would be like, what? Who? Come on, man, stop playing. So ever since I put out the contract with Black America, you know they've been fucking with me. Here and there, this and that. But it's cool, you know. I expect that. You know, I've been working with, on the big three for a long time. And you know how they've been fucking with me with that. I done made it, plain, simple, and clear what they've been doing. The NBA been fucking with us. Now, a lot of people might say, like, well, but Q.
Can somebody in the chat, if you know the specifics of what he's talking about here, can you let me know? I know I saw an amazing video with him about the jab and how he wasn't going to take it. It was a press conference where he was righteously indignant, and I wanted to scream and, support. Yes. I'm not sure what else he's talking about with the NBA or whatever. I don't know if it really matters because in general, I think he's talking about something we can all relate to if you're a wrong thinker, not being part of the club, not being part of the establishment narrative, and how much they hate it when you don't want to be a part of it. I saw Dion, the queen of quotes, is here. And Dion gave a great quote, very appropriate. Groucho Marx, I refuse to join any club that would have me as a member. Okay, let's continue.
If you want to work with the NBA, really, I don't give a fuck about working with the NBA. What I want them to do when I say work with us is to stop working against us. Stop doing that bullshit behind the scenes that we know you're doing. Mainstream media, they ain't fucking with us. And that's cool. We can do it ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We still on the rise without these motherfuckers. So we don't need them. You don't need them. So what am I going to do to deal with these motherfucking gatekeepers? Well, what I'm going to do is go on a Fuck the Gatekeepers podcast.
Oh, yes.
And I'm going to go talk to everybody.
This is great.
you know, and
Oh, I want to see him
get
on
a
the
chance to
F&T.
get my message out to the people. Be able to let people hear from me, you know, and you know, you might agree, you might not, but the important thing is, you know, for me to go on these platforms, say what I feel about what I think. And, you know, some people may get pissed off because I'm going to talk to everybody in my family. And it's gonna be a crazy summer. It's gonna be fun.
It's going to be a crazy summer.
Appreciate y'all. Always support the big three. Hopefully I'm doing stuff that you guys dig. You know, I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for people that's bored as fuck in the summer with summer sports and want something cool like the big three. So here we are. Appreciate you. Much love, much respect from your homeboy Ice Cube. Remember that.
Oh, how cool. Okay. Well, first of all, CJ says, Keri, get him on your show. I don't know how easy that'd be. If you guys want him on Deprogram, tweet at him and suggest and tag me, Real Keri Smith, and maybe use reverse psychology and say, Ice Cube, definitely don't go on Real Keri Smith's show. My husband's laughing at me. Whatever you do, don't go on Real Keri Smith's Deprogrammed. But no, I would love to see him on F&T. That would be amazing. I'd like to see him talk to Eric July. If he's going on a Wrong Finger podcast tour, oh man, he could be on. I'm just trying to think of his chemistry with different kinds of people, how fun it would be. I mean, I know there's the big ones like Rogan and stuff. That would be cool too. But anyway, how fun. Okay. Well, thanks for watching that video with me. Everybody I knew was sharing it. I guess I gotta know why, because he's like, I'm doing it. I'm going to talk to everybody who's not in the club. Lindsay has some more info for us. Lindsay, the Cynical Geek. Thank you. She says, supposedly Ice Cube lost out on $10 million because he refused to get the jab. I'm willing to bet that those are the gatekeepers he's talking about. I do remember him talking about that. And he was like, I don't care how much you financially punish me. I'm not taking it. Which is awesome. Okay. Thank you, CJ. Said I'll tweet him right now. Tweet him right now. What can it hurt? Say, you said you're going to talk to everybody. Okay. A couple other things I saw while I was traveling. And I tweeted about some of them so I would have quick access to them. And here's one of them. This is just something I saw in Montana that made me think about things a little differently. And so, you know, if you saw my Peter Boghossian interview, I talked about leaving social justice was kind of like leaving a cult in some ways. And as you come out of a cult, it takes a long time. It's not a quick thing. Anybody who tells you, you know, I read this book or I watched this thing and boom, I was out. No, I don't think that's the way it works. At least not in my experience. It takes a while to undo the programming. That's why this show is called Deprogrammed. And so I'm always rethinking things, some things, or still thinking about them. And these are some pictures that I saw. We were at this historic hotel in Red Lodge. Anthony had some shows there. By the way, if you're in Red Lodge, this hotel is amazing. It was established, it's called the Pollard Hotel. It was established in the late 1800s, and it was a different name then, but the guy who established it, but then I think the Pollards took it over. They renamed it in the early 1900s, and they added a bowling alley in like 1920 or something, and a barber shop, and they had a pool, and none of that's there anymore. Because I went to the museum and I learned about it. Then I went back to the hotel and asked them to show me the bowling alley, and they said it doesn't exist anymore. It's actually in the room where my husband played is where the bowling alley and the pool used to be. It's so sad. I wish they could renovate that. She said they just put a floor over the pool. I'm like, oh, what if they just took the floor off and tried to restore it to the way it used to look? But anyway, at this hotel, the Pollard Hotel, they also have some famous history there. They had famous guests like Buffalo Bill. The pictures of him and his posse arriving at the hotel. You can see his signature in the guest book. You can see what room he stayed in. Calamity Jane stayed there. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful hotel. We didn't stay there. Anthony had a show there. And I got a coffee there. Okay. So I saw they had these old historic pictures on the wall. And I was just snapped a picture of some of these old photos. And it was these men. So this was a coal mining town. And they had a whole coal mining exhibit at the museum I went to. And anyway, here at the hotel, they had these pictures of these men. Look at these guys. They're out in the ice and snow, shoveling this road to get to the coal mine. Here they are, these guys out doing back-breaking work. And I was looking at these pictures, and I was just thinking about one of the big lies that I bought. I bought a lot of lies in college, and I let them shape the way I looked at the world for a long time. And one of the lies that I bought was that the best way to look at the world is as a system of oppression. And one of those systems of oppression is that the world is a patriarchy, right? And it's the system of everything's built towards privileging men and oppressing women, right? And you look at old photos like this, and it's just visually a slap in the face, because these men are out there doing back-breaking work. They're shoveling all this ice and snow to get to the coal mines, to put in a day's work, to provide for their families. And I was just thinking about it. It's like, this whole system, this cultural system of oppression they talk about, it's not true. Like, these men are out there doing backbreaking work. What? So they can, in order to oppress women? No, they're doing this for women and kids and families. That's why you don't see any women out there. They're doing this for the women in their lives. And you don't see any feminists being like, get more women in the coal mines. Like, we got to shatter the coal ceiling. We got to shatter the ice shoveling ceiling, because this is grueling work. And I was thinking about it, and I shared something about it online, and somebody wrote me back, some person, they said, oh, so because men had it hard, you're saying women didn't have it hard? Women were just sitting at home eating bonbons? I was like, what? No. I don't like people who do things like that. They put words and opinions in your mouth and head that you don't have. It's dishonest. And that's a human thing. If you do that to others, try and stop doing it. Try and root it out. Try and engage genuinely with what they said, instead of putting words and opinions in their mouth and engaging with that. That's called building a straw man that you can tear down. So no, just because I'm talking about how men had it hard and men have it hard doesn't mean that women didn't have it hard and women don't have it hard. Of course not. Of course women had it hard. While these men are out doing backbreaking work and shoveling the snow and ice, the women are home cooking and cleaning and doing child rearing and schooling kids and all manner of backbreaking work as well, a different kind of work. I'm allowed to say something about men, and it just be about men and not be about whatever it is you wish I were talking about. Don't do that to words in their mouth. So anyway, the point of this was I was looking at these photos and thinking about how when I was in college, so I went to Duke University, my major was biological anthropology. And at that time, in the late 90s, we talked about how obviously a lot of gender roles, a lot of gendered work sprang from our biological differences, came from biology. A lot of it did. And now it's sort of we're in this new place where in 2023, culturally, we're supposed to pretend that it's impossible to even define woman. We can't define biological sex, right? And we're supposed to pretend that gender roles are somehow all a cultural creation, an oppressive cultural creation of the patriarchy, meant to privilege men and oppress women. That's bullshit. That's not true. Gender roles evolved naturally because of our biology. Men are stronger on average. Men are bigger on average. They're taller on average. That's why they were doing the back-breaking work. It evolved naturally. Women give birth to children and babies. We're also smaller on average. Women are tied more to the home and to childbearing, and they can't be out doing the back-breaking work. This is how things evolved naturally. And I sometimes, I don't know, I think we've just gotten so far away from that. We talk about, how what is it they talk about? Culturally constructed, how gender is culturally constructed. Yeah, some of it is nature plus nurture, right? I get that. Some of it is for sure. But a lot of it's nature. A lot of it's naturally evolved to be this way. So those are some thoughts I had about these photos. And also, it caused me to think about the men today. Oh my gosh. And if you look at the studies about the declining testosterone rates, if you look at testosterone and how it's dropped off just since the 1960s, it's just in a free fall. It's crazy. And you don't even have to look at the stats. Just look around you at all the men have become a lot more effeminate. And I don't know exactly what's causing that, but if you want to find a masculine man, it's hard. This is a rare breed of man today. This is a vintage, antique, valuable model of man. And you have to look a little harder to find it. And yes, it's also a little harder to find a vintage model of woman. Again, just because I'm talking about men I'm not saying anything about women. But it's worth it. And I think men should lean more into their masculinity. I think culturally, speaking of cultural creations, cultural constructions, we are living in a time that is trying to construct this really, neutered kind of masculinity where men are being encouraged to be ashamed of being men and being masculine. We've popularized phrases like toxic masculinity. Even the American Psychiatric Association uses those phrases now. They put out guidelines for therapists on how to talk to their male patients about their toxic masculinity. What a bunch of crap about their male privilege. What a bunch of stigmatizing, culturally constructed bullshit. So I think men should ignore all that shit and they should lean into being masculine and they should embrace it and divest themselves, to use a social justice word, divest themselves of any shame that they've picked up in this culture of being traditionally masculine. Get rid of that shame. Who cares what people think about you? There's honor in a masculine man. And that's my little rant. Dan says, when men were men and women were women. The 1800s. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I've got a couple more topics. Whatever you guys are looking at, let me know. I've been blessedly not on my phone as much. And when we are on there, it's hard for us to get reception, so we're not reading all the news. Oh, I know something I saw that I thought was interesting. Okay, two things. One, there's this tweet of Dr. Jordan Peterson's, who I really admire, as some of you know. And I thought this was interesting. He's been talking a lot more about Christianity and faith, and I think he would probably, I think he would probably agree with James Lindsay, who is an atheist, who says the cultural war is a spiritual war. I think it is. Anyway, so this is something Peterson shared yesterday, I think, and he was responding to Richard Dawkins, famous scientist and atheist. And Richard Dawkins shared something, and he said, today, New Zealand science, this is Richard Dawkins speaking. Today, New Zealand science is circling the drain, and all because of juvenile politics and the racist canard that science is, quote, Western, and that it needs, quote, decolonizing. Science is not Western. It belongs to all of humanity. I delved further into this in my blog, he says. So this is Richard Dawkins talking about this, about how science is dying because of woke. That's essentially what he's saying. And it's true. It's true. All you have to look at is the past few years, the COVID years, what they did in the name of science, not science. Not science. What they're doing now with the trans issue, where we suddenly can't define what a woman is. We can't define what biological sex is. Not science. Science is dying. It's being killed by woke Puritanism. So Jordan Peterson quote tweeted that, and he replied to Richard Dawkins, and he says, "Welcome to the world of post-humanism, sir, a world which you sadly helped birth. And nothing secular will withstand it, as you can no doubt see. I say this with genuine sorrow, not least because I know that you're a real scientist, with the faith in the logos of the cosmos that entails. Yet here we are. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if the woke polyaesthetic neo-paganists destroy science faster than they destroy Christianity." Isn't that amazing? He's basically saying, no shade to you, Richard Dawkins, but you helped usher in this secularism that gave way to woke, and nothing secular is going to withstand it. It's going to destroy it all. I thought that was an interesting perspective from Peterson. Dom says, wow, yeah, right? Nothing secular will withstand it. I mean, as a Christian, I believe God will withstand it. I think Peterson is starting to think that too. Maybe. Yeah, what an amazing JBP tweet. Yes. Davina says, when you destroy the ability to make statements of fact, nothing will last. Yes. Or as my pastor, Bradley Helgerson, says, he talks about the culture war as a war on reality. It's a war on Mother Nature. It's a war on reality. It's a war on what is. And Mother Nature will win. Reality will win in the end. But what's going to be destroyed in the meantime? I kind of agree with Peterson. All things secular. Maybe civilization itself. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, one last thing. By the way, I want to give a thank you to my husband for bringing me a delicious coffee. We were drinking gas station coffee before we got to Laramie. Not very good, although it'll do. Okay. Here's the other thing I was looking at. Okay, so I don't know how I started reading it this morning, but I started reading this essay by Jonathan Swift. You know Jonathan Swift, the satirist, A Modest Proposal, that Jonathan Swift. So I was reading this essay of his called The Art of Political Lying, which was written in the year 1710. And it's crazy when you read old stuff like this, just like when you read Nietzsche and Nietzsche's essay Tarantulas, which is so old, and you read something like that, or you read this, The Art of Political Lying, and you're like, oh yeah, there's nothing new under the sun, right? Like in Ecclesiastes, it talks about that. There's nothing new under the sun. What's old will become new again. And human nature doesn't change. That Alexander Solzhenitsyn line about how the line dividing good and evil runs down the heart of every man. That's always been the case. Humankind. we have the ability to do great evil and the ability to do great good. And the negative aspects of humankind, they've always been the same. So it shouldn't surprise me so much when I read something that's very old like this from 1710 that really nails something you can look around and see today. But it shouldn't surprise me, but it still does. You know, I'll read this and go, wow, he was a prophet. And he wasn't a prophet. It's that human nature doesn't change. He's looking around and describing stuff then. It's the same today. Technology changes. Human nature doesn't change. Okay, so here. Let's look at this. So, as I mentioned, this essay of Jonathan Swift's is called The Art of Political Lying, written in 1710. And you can read the whole thing online. Just Google it. You'll find lots of different links where you can read the whole thing. It's not too long, but I'm just going to read one little paragraph from it that I thought was great. Here, he says, falsehood flies, and truth comes limping after it, so that when men come to be undeceived, it is too late. The jest is over, and the tale hath had its effect. Like a man who hath thought of a good repartee when the discourse is changed, or the company parted, or like a physician who hath found out an infallible medicine after the patient is already dead. Isn't that amazing? It gave me shivers. By the way, the analogies he used were great. A man who thinks of a good repartee, like a good quip, a good comeback is what we would say today, a good comeback, but after way late, too late to give the comeback. But hey, he's saying that's what truth is like. And the whole essay is great. You should read the whole thing, but he's basically saying, as long as there have been liars, big liars, there have been believers, there have been people who want to believe. And here he says, you know, falsehood flies. And by the time the truth comes out, when it will come out, comes limping out. But by then he says it's too late. Now, I don't know if I agree with him on that, if it's too late, but I do know that the people who control the powerful people in our society who control the narratives, the politicians, the media, the corporations, the bankers, all of it, right? The celebrities, all of this whole cathedral. I know that they depend on it being too late by the time the truth comes out. They depend on us being so distracted, like we don't care anymore. And I started thinking about all the examples of that. So just think about it. Remember, I was really against the Iraq War. I was on the left. I'm still believe we shouldn't have gone to war there, no matter what side I'm on now. I don't even know what I'm on now. But remember all the WMD stuff and the yellow cake uranium lies? And we knew, those who were paying attention knew it was lies. And it doesn't matter. Like, in some ways, when the truth comes out later, if they can sell it at the moment, the political lies, they can sell it with those lies at the moment, they don't care, because they depend on, when it comes out, the public not caring anymore. Think about the Covington kids thing, how quickly they spread those lies about those kids. And then when it came out that they were lies, or the Jussie Smollett thing, it's like, well, the narrative's already been set, and now here's the truth. It's like when newspapers, when all these mainstream corporate press, they publish things that are untrue, and then they go back a week or two later and they do an editor's note and they update it and nobody reads it, but they all read the lies, right? And it's the same with the Kennedy assassination. I mean, how many years, how many decades do we have to wait to get the truth? And they're depending on when they finally do release the truth, which maybe they never will, that nobody cares anymore. And they're probably right. I mean, nobody's out in the street demanding answers for the Kennedy assassination. That bothers me sometimes. I'm like, that's what we should be protesting about. Who killed our president? But I don't know. They do it over and over again. And most recently, I think the most recent egregious one is COVID. The COVID origins. So when the news of COVID first broke big in the States, remember how people were asking, like, hey, did it maybe escape from the Wuhan lab, which is like right where this came from? The lab right next door, that develops these kind of viruses that does gain of function research to make viruses more deadly and more contagious? Did it maybe escape from there? And all of the establishment said, no, you crazy MFers. No, it came from a bat at a lab. A market. It came from a market and jumped several species. And yeah, that's much more reasonable. And you guys are conspiracy theorists if you think that possibly it came from the lab that makes such viruses. That it escaped somehow. You're crazy. And remember the Lancet letter? Peter Dojak, is that his name? You gotta look this up. He was part of EcoHealth Alliance. Who is EcoHealth Alliance? EcoHealth Alliance was a third party that received NIH funds. So after Obama banned gain of function research here in the US and said, I don't want you doing that. We shouldn't be experimenting with these deadly viruses and making them more contagious for humans. And we shouldn't be doing gain of function research, making them more deadly for humans. You're not going to be able to do that in the US anymore. That's what Obama did. That was great. You know what happened after that? The NIH started giving grants to labs in China to do gain of function research. So we're still paying for it. You and I, taxpayers, our money. The NIH gave grants to places like EcoHealth Alliance, run by that Peter guy, Peter Dojak. Am I saying it right? He doesn't know either. Anyway, look up EcoHealth Alliance. They were funding this research into viruses like COVID-19 at the Wuhan lab. We were paying for this. Hotez also, that guy who's in the news a lot right now, Peter Hotez, same thing. Gain of function research. All these monsters, Fauci, all of them. All these monsters who sold us the cure. If you're going to be a snake oil salesman and sell a cure to something, it might be good to create a demand for it first. Anyway, I'm not saying anything happened on purpose. I'm just saying they were researching these viruses. And so Peter Dojak, the EcoHealth Alliance guy, Peter D, let's call him Peter D because I'm probably mispronouncing it.
Peter the D.
Peter the D. That's what I was. Peter the D. He wrote the Lancet letter where he went and got a bunch of other scientists and they put this letter out in this science magazine, the Lancet, and it said, we are scientists and we are here and we have no. They even went so far as to say that they had no conflict of interest. These freaking liars. He was funding research at the Wuhan lab. They lied. And so they put out this letter saying, we are scientists. We have no conflict of interest. And we are here to say that there's no way that COVID came from that lab. No way at all. We know this. How do we know this? I don't know. Don't ask. We just know it didn't come from there. Trust us. We're scientists. And you're crazy conspiracy theorists if you think it might have escaped from that lab somehow. They put this freaking letter out and all the corporate press carried that letter. Oh, scientists agree. Look at all these scientists. They said it didn't come from the lab. You guys are crazy if you think it did. So what happened? Then the rest of the machine, the rest of the cathedral, the entertainers, the puppets, the late night talk show hosts, they come in, they do their job. Now that the corporate press is run with this stupid letter and they've reported on it, now the entertainers and the monkeys come in with their cymbals and they're like, you're idiots, clapping their cymbals. You're idiots if you think this escaped from a lab. You're conspiracy theorists. All those corporate comedians, those established comedians, they spread the narrative in their way. And so now, all these years later, 3 years later, now what's happening? Now the mainstream corporate press is saying, hey, also I left out, you would get banned and censored on places like YouTube. You would get censored by Big Social. The corporate Big Social would censor you if you even suggested or asked questions about where COVID came from, the origin. You weren't allowed to ask. Forget that science is about asking questions, but you weren't allowed to. So all of that happened. And now 3 years later, what's the corporate press saying? Hey, yeah, so it's most likely that it did come from that lab. Yeah, you guys, it probably came from that lab. Let's move on. They seriously are reporting on it now, like a footnote. And to go back to this Jonathan Swift piece, about political lies. He says by then, by the time the truth comes out, it's too late. That's what he believes. I don't know if it's too late, but look around you. Is there a real hankering to know where COVID came from? Is there a real public demand to band together, all of us, right, left, blue, red? I forgot what the colors are. All that stuff that doesn't matter. Is there, all those divisions that don't matter? I kind of feel like we missed our opportunity to all come together and say, we deserve to know where this came from. We deserve transparency. We missed that boat. And instead, we let them divide us. We let them divide us along lines of, are you getting the jab? Are you not getting the jab? Are you a grandma killer? Are you not? Are you red? Are you blue? Are you wearing a mask? They toy with us so easily, and people just fall into these tribes, and we just bicker and fight each other. And we never, ever demand the truth from them because they're so good at stirring up existing divisions, man. Anyway, that's what I was thinking about this morning. All of that. Jonathan Swift. The essay is The Art of Political Lying. It was written in 1710. Look it up. Go read it. Humankind doesn't change. Okay, guys. I think I may have rambled and ranted enough, and we have to get on the road because we are taking twice as long to get home because, as I mentioned, our van has some kind of overdrive or transmission problem, so we're limited to about 30 miles an hour. And if we're going up a mountain, it's 10 miles an hour in this van. We have to put on the hazard lights and wave everyone around us. So, hey, if there's ever a slow poke on the road and they've got their hazard lights on and they're waving you around, just be kind to them. Maybe they have a problem with their transmission and nobody will fix it for them until they get home. You don't know. Don't curse at them. What's on your mind, guys? I'm going to wrap this up if you don't have any questions. Safe travels, Keri. Thank you, Aaron. Davina says, good luck with the transmission. I appreciate it. If you pray, say a prayer that we're safe. And good ramble. Thanks, good luck, and God bless. That's a good ending. I like that. Michael Coiler for $4.99. Thank you for the super chat. Enjoy the podcast. Safe travels. Thank you, sir. I should mention, I'm not great at it. I'm going to get better because I want to start paying attention to a little more to promoting the channel and getting it out there more and being able to do more of what we want to do. So, but anyway, I forgot to say at the beginning, if you want to support the show, if you want to support Deprogrammed, like a lot of channels, we have multiple ways to do that. You can become a paid subscriber here at YouTube for, I think it's like $1 a month. Or you can be, you can go to Patreon, you can go to Subscribestar or Locals, any of those places, and you can become a monthly subscriber. There's a number of different levels, and anything, even $1 a month, helps us. Eventually, I want to get to a place where I can afford to hire Mystery Chris, my co-host on Wednesday nights, full-time, and be able to do more comedy videos like Woke Therapy. We're going to be doing more anyway. We have plans for shooting another when we get back, but it'd be great to have more time and a budget for those. If you haven't seen it, you can check out our first comedy video. We put it out a couple months ago. It's called Woke Therapy. It's on this channel. It's me and comedian Peter Feliciano, and it was so much fun making it. I get to play a woke therapist. And yeah, humor is a great tool for pushing back against woke. So go check it out if you haven't seen it. Michael says, which way puts the most in your pocket? Subscribestar, probably. Actually, I'm not sure money-wise, but I like Subscribestar the best because they censor the least. Patreon has a history of kicking people off their platform and saying, you can't use us anymore, and then not giving them their money that people pledge them, because Patreon is a bit woke. So, and YouTube, of course, they take a big chunk, they take a percentage, plus the these guys censor. Every time we post a video on YouTube, you have to self-report on all the naughty things you talked about, and you have to self-report on the degree to which you talked about them. Not very much, a lot, a whole lot. And then they go in and see if you self-reported correctly. And if you didn't, they tweak the algorithm so your videos show up less frequently. Isn't that crazy? They have a whole system back here on the back end at YouTube. Every video. Did you talk about sensitive subjects? Did you talk about them a lot or just a little bit? Yeah. One day I'll post what the back end looks like so you can see it. It's pretty crazy. Anyway, the answer to that was Subscribe Star is probably my favorite if you're going to become a paid member. Okay, you guys, take care. Bungalow Logic, hello. Dawn, hello. Frozen Bows, I see all you guys. Thanks for hanging out. This was fun. We're going to figure out how to do these van streams in the future when we're on the road, get them a little more pro, but I think this went great. I'm pretty pleasantly surprised. The internet didn't go out, and yeah, the travel mic's working. So, okay, guys, have a great week. We'll see you on Wednesday night for a live pop culture. Take care. And now the awkward moment while I find the video.
Oh, I'm gonna go then! And I don't need any of this! I don't need this stuff! And I don't need you! I don't need anything! Except this!